till appointed as a lecturer in Karnatak University, DHarwad. At present, Madam Professor in the same university. Thank you, sir.
Impressed, and for a moment, I must say, I was flattered, and that too at an appropriate time like this, when elections are going on, and leaders, they are basking in the sunlight, and many people with the kind of importance that they are getting. Well, that really prompted me and said, let me accept it. But then when I started reflecting over this topic, I must tell you, when I realized the kind of responsibility that is inherent in the leadership, I was little taken aback. I didn't know what to talk to you people, and what would I be sharing with you. I could have handled this session just by enlisting some areas where focus on a few problems and then suggest a few services that you can take up and thereby give your service to the community. But then I thought that this is work with the deficient, disabled, etc. Anybody would talk like that. Any social servant who has some goodwill in heart may be doing this kind of a service. But as teachers, what are we supposed to do? This, we needs to be, though it is optional, it has to be sustainable. And to make change sustainable, we need to adopt several approaches. And in social work, generally we have one approach which is titled as task-centered approach. And in this approach, what we do is, we just, when we come across a sufferer, any client who comes to us with a problem, we understand the problem and immediately what we need to do to relieve the distress of that individual. We generally, provide that service and make an attempt to relieve the person of that distress. But this kind of a relief given does not really go a long way in having a sustaining impact on the individual, because the problem may recur, and with this recurrence of the problem, the person may grow more, he may suffer more, and therefore we generally, along with this task-centered approach, we adopt other approaches like the behavioral modification approach, the cognitive approach, and there are a number of approaches. I do not want to make this session an academic session as such, so let me not venture into these. But then what I see is, by giving a relief like this, by undertaking a service, going to a slum and working, or organizing during a time of crisis, try to collect the necessary commodities and then distribute them among the people who require these commodities. This, is not going to help us. So as educationists, as teachers, we have to really think what needs to be done to this community. Because today, in the society, if you see around you, you will see a number of institutions growing, established in the society, meant for specific target groups. Many of our government officers and officials and the states sometimes project this as a progress. They dawn on them that state claim that we have established so many old age homes, we have established so many destitute homes for the destitute, orphanages, we have increased the insurance amount of financial assistance that is given. On these issues, they generally focus and try to project themselves as progressive. You see, should this be an indicator of a society which is progressive? Should it be an indicator for a society which is developed, which can claim itself as a developed society? Are these the indicators of prosperity? of a society? What do you think? What do you think? Should we have more number of old age homes? Should we have more number of orphanages? Aren't these the indicators of an unhealthy society? Just because the generations have not been able to support our own people, these problems have cropped up. And how are we going to support these people? How are we going to solve these problems? Is it by dissociating them from the family and then keeping them in an institution, isolating them from the rest of the society and taking care of them? Are we achieving anything? What is that needs to be done? Isn't it necessary that we try to change the younger educationists as teachers? What is that are we doing today? We may have an NSS program. We may have other programs, extension activities. Well, these are part and parcel of our educational system, I agree. But in these NSS programs, what is that the students do? During the camp or one day in a week, they go, they clean up, holding a number of meetings with the residents there, see that, identify the need scientifically, systematically, and after identifying the need, the location is selected, and after selecting the location, in the location, what is that project, which project they have to do?
Self very critical. We know what is meant by self. Usually, self on the S-E-L-F. After spelling, we asking who is he, who is she, who are you, but we never ask who am I. So when you try to answer for this question, then the self-analysis will start. So the very beginning of the self-analysis is nothing but trying to answer for this particular question, who am I? But looking at this question from different angles, philosophers, they try to answer for this question in their own angle, isn't it? Sociologists, literature people, psychologists, and they are looking at this self from different angles. But what is this real self? Self, and the other one is ideal self. You got it? So what is meant by ideal self? And what is meant by real self? What am I with all my limitations and strengths? That is your real self. What you are exactly. So when you try to understand what are your capacities, what are your loopholes or the limitations, so the product of that is your real self. Imagination about myself, how I ought to be. So that is your ideal self. And one important thing what we need to understand then, we suffer from mental imbalance. That is how the psychologists are looking. Of course, there are healthy self also, sick self also. We are coming to that one. So then the gap between these two is when it is getting widened, what happens? What am I really? And what I would like to become? There is a much gap. It means you are not realistic. You are highly optimistic, but your optimism is not thoroughly based upon your realistic understanding. So this is very dangerous. Suppose if our ideal self is very much near or very much closer to our, you will be losing confidence because of the wider gap between the two things. Confidence is resulting because of you are able to achieve the ideal self. These two things are interlinked. Morning sessions, you dealt with so many things. We have to develop, is getting accumulated by everyone. You are so good enough to accumulate your knowledge and you are able to analyze whatever the information you have taken, whatever the information you have received, but you fail to implement it in your day-to-day life. Why we are failing in implementing all that accumulated or collected, received information? So there the self-analysis comes, or it is required very much. Why I am failing to implement whatever the knowledge I have gained? So what is blocking me to implement that information in my day-to-day life? analyzing the self, critically making analysis of oneself is revealing so many things to us. So, usually what do we understand by the term self, according to you? Let us have interaction also in between, and then I will go to my presentation also. What is self according to you? How we can define the term self?
Nothingness including everything.
Yes?
Nothingness including everything.
Nothingness including everything.
The inner man.
Yes?
The inner man.
Inner man.
Inner man. Okay. Then any other thing?
Inner thoughts.
Inner thoughts. What about feelings? Feelings are also.
It is who I am and what I am.
Who am I and what I am. Then ನೋಡಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಈಸಿಯಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಈ ಪದ ಬಳಸ್ಕೋತೀವಿ ದಿನನಿತ್ಯದ ವ್ಯವಹಾರದಲ್ಲಿ, ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೋದಾಗ ವಿ ಫೇಸ್ ಸೋ ಮೆನಿ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟೀಸ್. ಈ ಸ್ವಂತಿಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ನನ್ನತನ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಏನು?
I think it is pertaining to one's own.
One's own self, once again, isn't it? So this self, it is understood in several ways. Let us try to go from back to our presentations. Yeah. In your hand, your perceptions, your thoughts, your way of thinking, your way of analyzing the things has to get changed. So basically the fault is lying in us. What we do is, we develop the defense mechanism saying that because of those people or because of this situation or because of that thing, we are failing. We are not able to attain the things. It is a sort of defense mechanism. It is called rationalization. What we do, I would have bought it. Easily I would have bought it. I left it purposefully because it is not tasty, it is not sweet. So for all our behaviors, we are responsible. Actually, it was not possible for the jackal to get it because it was at the higher side. So it was not able to get it. But the attribution, what was given by that fox is nothing but, it was possible, I only left it. Normally, students, so they are compromising themselves by giving some other reasons. So in our day-to-day life also, we are not accepting our faults, ourselves, and then we start attributing to others. Next please. Here, self-concept, self-percept, self-concept. This is to be analyzed properly. Then we are able to understand what is meant by this particular thing. It is healthy, realistic, non-judgmental assessment of one's strength and weaknesses. So basically when we are trying to analyze our own self, this is another thing. So now what we find is, it is acknowledgement of one's strengths without egoism.